ill of customers, but I think the whole qualification thing, so if it was a big company doing business with another big company, we would add an added layer in amongst those 7 steps of called cultural fit. And I have seen this actually as a dynamic since we've been in this pandemic since last March, where lots of people have come off the corporate ladder, started their own businesses, or maybe they've just had a change of mindset. And I would say, I would call it client selection. So I've seen businesses, mainly private sector, not charities so much, but private sector businesses who are saying, you know what, that customer is not quite right for us. We're not, they're going to be difficult to deal with. Our solution isn't quite right for them. This is going to be painful. And it's making that balance between, especially when you're first starting out, it's making that balance between getting cash coming in and pain. So if all things being equal, you would choose maybe not to have a customer, but that's a really interesting dynamic that I haven't seen for quite a few years. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, in turning away what could ultimately end up being bad business, stuff that just takes you too much time, because they always want to come back and get another 10% off or whatever it is. And there's a point at which it's just not worth doing. And I think it takes a degree of courage to have that conversation with a prospective customer. And it sounds like, Sarah, you might be having one of those, but also they'll respect you for it. I've learned more about cash in the last 8 years from being in Yorkshire, and I keep harping on about this, but it's so important, particularly when it's difficult economic times. But I insist on testing everyone's price. I cannot stand paying full price for anything, and I'll come into more on that on the negotiation thing. But I think you, as a buyer of services, you have a right to test the price or test someone's firmness on price. You have a right to do that, be it a shop, be it a car showroom, whatever it is. And you would be amazed at the response you can get sometimes. That's all I'm going to say about that in a minute. Anyway.
So, Keith, yeah. Sometimes you meet a customer, they can appear very, very charming. You cannot tell they are bad customers. And whatever they say is always bang on, spot on. But when you later work with them, then you find out. It's really hard, I think, as a startup, especially in building, construction.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I haven't come across too many charming builders. But maybe I just haven't worked with enough, Sarah. But I have come across lots of charming people who end up, the more you get to know someone, I don't know if it's a familiarity breeds contempt, or sometimes they can end up being painful. But you kind of, every day is a school day, so to speak. So you can, it's just by learning. What's that saying? Once bitten, twice shy. So maybe there's a bit of that, and we are all learning lots of lessons right now, Sarah. Anyway, so what is a lead? Ideally, a lead is a red hot opportunity where someone wants to buy something right here, right now from you. So they're, and those are 2 separate points actually. So someone's going to buy something right here, right now. And the second point is they're going to buy it from you. That's the ideal lead. And we would choose, if we could, to have those all of the time. But in reality, it's more likely that it's going to be an inquiry that comes in, which is going to require you to do something. I'm going to say requires your time and attention. So it's an opportunity to spend time doing something. So it's an unqualified lead, other than if you've got an active marketing campaign. We'll talk about that in a few minutes' time. You can put in some qualifiers then by the kind of messages that you give to your prospective market. You can do some qualification that way. So more than likely, an inquiry is nothing more and nothing less than an opportunity to waste your time if you're not careful. And that does not mean, by the way, you treat every call with suspicion, but it does mean that you should be really careful how much time, and particularly if you're in an advisory business, as Sarah is, as Joseph certainly is, Demiji certainly is. If you're in the advisory business, you don't give too much of your IP away too cheaply, too early. If you'll forgive the vernacular, sometimes you just have to show a bit of ankle, and it's almost a flirtatious. Actually, there's a lot of similarity between the dating game and the business game, and you shouldn't give all your IP away straight away. You shouldn't give too much effort. So if it's, I'm going to put my charity head on for a second. So if it's a big corporate opportunity, you shouldn't give the meeting away with your CEO too easily. The guy called Bill Richardson, who worked for President Clinton back in the day, was often regarded as more powerful than Bill Clinton himself because he had the keys to the Oval Office. He could grant a meeting to some of the world leaders on the global stage. He had that power. Now, none of us are working in the White House, I get that, but you get the principle of don't give anything away too cheaply, too early, qualify the opportunity. You'll build respect for your brand in the process. That's a really important point. Okay, so I kind of made those points. So these inquiries, they need to be, who's that? Oh, Marianne's coming in. Okay, 1 second. So these inquiries need to be curated, the curator of the data, so to speak. I should take that rap. Curated, nurtured, or qualified to understand whether to sell to them or not, your active choice. So right on cue, 1 second. Marianne, welcome to our sales marketing masterclass.
Just 1 second. I've just had a dog walk in the room. Just press pause. Sorry about this.
It's a live show. So just so you know, I've been working with Marianne probably for the last, I'm just going to whiz forward a bit. In fact, I'm going to come off of share. That'll be much easier. I've been working with Marianne for the last 6 months. She is fantastic and she wouldn't, far too modest, she wouldn't say this herself, but she is brilliant at the customer journey. And Marianne, I've led with those 2 words deliberately. So can I ask you, welcome you to Sales Marvel Masterclass, and can you just tell cohort, what do you mean? What does customer journey mean?
Okay, so I look at each stage of the customer journey. There is a journey that each of your customers take to become a customer of yours. So if you Google customer journey, it isn't something that I've made up, but it takes 6 stages. And if you just think of it as how to attract, how to convert, and how to retain your best customers. So how you bring them in, how you look after them, and how you get them to shout great things about you. I think that's it in its simplest form, Keith.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Well, I've made you a co-host, so just in case you wanted to present, but if you want to talk or engage or however you want to use your next 15-20 minutes, if that's okay, Marianne.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me just bring up my presentation. Just 1 second.
Alrighty.
How's the session gone so far?
We're I'll let everyone else be the judge of that, but I haven't seen anyone fall asleep yet, and that's my measure.
Okay, excellent. Right, okay, guys. So I'll pick up from here, yeah?
Thank you, yeah.
Excellent, okay. From the beginning. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. As Keith said, I'm Marianne and I have my own marketing business. I've been helping businesses with their customer journey for the last 10 years. So I'm going to explain what that is in a little bit more detail. This afternoon, Keith asked me to talk about a particular point in the customer journey, and that's how to generate the right kind of leads. So there is a perception at the moment. We're in lockdown 3. We're coming out of the other side just, but there's still a little bit of panic when it comes to customers. So people think that the more I sell, the more inquiries I get, the more leads I get, the more customers I get, the more business I get. The more marketing I do, the more sales I'll get. So I need to be on LinkedIn. I need to be on Facebook. I need to advertise in the Chamber of Commerce. I need to be doing networking. And then we've got all this online stuff. It's confusing, it can be exhausting, and it can be very, very expensive. So what I do is I help businesses find their magic formula, and hopefully I'll give you some tricks of the trades away today. So let's crack on. So today is all around finding the right kind of leads. And obviously we want to find the right kind of leads to find the right kind of customers. So just to kind of put this into perspective, when we think about leads coming in, we'd like to think they are the right type of customers. I have a client, a bathroom company, an online bathroom company, and they were about to spend £20,000 on radio advertising because they thought they needed more leads. They thought they needed more inquiries coming in. What we spotted in the customer journey when we mapped it out, remember before when I said it's about how to attract, how to convert, and how to retain, so those 3 points, they didn't have a problem with the inquiries coming in. There was a gap in their customer journey. And those are the types of things that we have to fix first. So that their particular gap before they spent the £20,000 on radio advertising was that the leads were coming in. But what happened was they were coming into the sales department, and the sales department were really, really busy. And they were too busy to pick up the phone. They were too busy to handle the inquiries that they had coming in. So what we had to do, we had to fix that gap to ensure there was a seamless flow. And I'm going to show you how that works in a moment. So don't just think about attracting the right kind of leads, having the processes in place when those leads come in. So this is the journey that I talked about earlier. Every time you buy something, you will take this journey. So it starts with awareness, and this is about being in the right place at the right time for when anybody needs a product or service like yours. So if it's B2B, it might be something like LinkedIn. If it's B2C, it might be something like Facebook. So it's really understanding where your customers are when they start looking for what you do. So that's the awareness piece. It could be networking. It could be a search on Google. The next stage is consideration. So I might have seen you at networking. I might have seen something on a LinkedIn post. Now I'm ready to buy. So I'm considering you against the competition. Yeah, I'm looking for evidence. And quite often that evidence comes from the website. So if we want to get them from social media, to check us out on the website so they can dig a little bit further. And then from that is the trial, and this is the stepping stone. And this is where, as I explained this term to Keith, and Keith understands where I'm coming from in this. This is where a lot of people fall down when it comes to lead generation, because they think they need to sell the big ticket. What you need to sell at that point in terms of lead generation is the trial, is the stepping stone. So it could be as simple as a webinar. It could be something like an audit, a review, a downloadable PDF. It could actually be something so simple as in a telephone call. So what we have to think about when we are creating these leads, what do we want them to do? Where do we want them to go? So rather than think of generating leads to buy a big ticket, to take over the whole accountancy service, or to be come and fix my boiler, we need to sell the trial. We need to sell that stepping stone. I've got an example of a company of mine which I'm going to talk about, so that makes sense in order. And then obviously there's the rest of the customer journey. So how we onboard them and give them a lovely, nice, warm welcome. What does that look like? And then how we look after them, how we give them a really good customer experience, and then how do we get them shouting great things about us. But just for this session, we're just going to concentrate on the first half of that customer journey, getting the leads in, and then what do we do with them. So I know Keith has talked about your ideal customer. He's mentioned that. Obviously, I wouldn't, he's talked about your customer value proposition in terms of getting that insight from them on how you can fix their problems. So I'm not going to go into that in too much detail. But I just want you to just think for a moment in your head, who is your best customer? Now, a lot of people, a lot of marketers talk about your ideal customer. Your ideal customer to me is your wish list. It's that one I'd like, when actually you're forgetting about the customers that you've got already. So if you've got a pad and a pen, just write down the name of your ideal customer. All right. So mine is Sarah. She's a HR consultant. And every time I'm doing a post, every time I think of lead generation, whether I'm networking, whether I'm writing a post on LinkedIn, I've got my best customer in mind. That makes everything so simple. Anything I do with marketing or sales, I've got Sarah in my head. And just think about that customer. Do they make you happy? Do they make you money? Do they make you proud of working with them? Do they pay you on time? Do you have a good relationship with them? When you break it down so small into your best customer, it makes everything a lot easier in terms of your marketing. So with that best customer in mind, then you need to understand why we want more of them. So why are we doing this whole lead generation piece? Why do we want to think of the bathroom company? We've got all these inquiries coming in. So is it to raise awareness? This is what we do. We can help fix your problems. That's a tick in the box. A raise awareness piece is fine. Is it to attract anybody, any of your customers, or is it to attract a certain type of customer? Because each of those customers will have different pain points, and that's what we need to understand when we're formulating our lead generation. And then you have to build up know, like, and trust. Let me explain what that is. I did a presentation on Monday where I mentioned the word LinkedIn moron, and what I mean by this is just, I don't know if any of you are on LinkedIn, but there seems to be this urgency at the moment where people have really stepped up in terms of selling. So they're linking in with anybody, and as soon as you accept their request, they are selling. Big long paragraph, you can see it coming. Who's managing your energy bills? Who's doing your copywriting? Do you want a new website? You have to build up that know, like, and trust. So they have to get to know you, they have to get to like you on LinkedIn, and then they start and trust you. From then on, you've earned their trust, and you can start and build up lead generation tactics to get that little bit further down the customer journey with them. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it's all around your best customers. So if I wanted to speak to more HR clients, I would start and like their comments on LinkedIn. I would start and maybe post and comment on the things that they've put, and then I can start and put stuff out on LinkedIn. That's me earning the right in terms of building up that lead generation, because I want to get in front of another Sarah, another HR company. So remember, I mentioned about the customer journey. We're going to start with the first three. We're going to look at a fictional company. It's based on a client that I'm working with already and how they do lead generation. So if you look at the screen, we've got the awareness, consideration, and trial, and you can just see how it all links in. Because if one breaks down, the whole piece breaks down. What we don't want is for them to fall off a cliff at the first stage. So if we are doing lots of things on social media to get more leads in, what we have to make sure is that we're leading them through a seamless inquiry stage, seamless onboarding stage. Yeah. Okay. So before we move on to the company, I just want you to think about this for a moment. You need to understand what you're going to give them in terms of that lead generation. So if we understand our why, we understand who we're going after. Now we need to understand what we're going to do. So as I mentioned before, your goal is the trial, is that stepping stone. That's the bit you need to get to first of all. Don't go for the big ticket. Understand the pains. What are they going through? People don't want marketing from me. They want customers. That's what they want. People don't want accounts. They want to pay less tax. What pains are you fixing, and what gains are they getting from working with you? Give help away. In that lead generation, give as much help away as you can. Don't sell. So Nick Bramley is a good associate of Keith and mine. Last year in lockdown, he gave away loads of workshops. He was literally doing, I think it was 3 times a week, twice a day, delivering workshops for free. What that did was that gave him 750 people went through his workshop program. And now he can obviously go back to all of them, and he's had a very busy January, and he's got a very busy February because he gave that help away. He didn't sell during lockdown. So that could be a free webinar. It could be a downloadable PDF. Think about what that lead is and make sure you're helping people, you're not selling. Think about your call to action. What do you want them to do from that lead magnet? Yeah. So one of my lead magnets I'm doing at the moment, I am putting on a free webinar series, but I want them to consider becoming a client of mine. So I'm selling my trial, that's my lead magnet. And then once they've been on my webinar series, they can see how good and whether I'm the right fit for them. And then think about after, when we've got that call to action, we want them to go onto our hire ticket. What does inquiries look like and what does delivery look like? We've all seen websites that say, contact us today, phone now, and then you ring them and you can't get through. So prospect came to me, he was about to spend £1,300 a month on Facebook ads. When I rang him, he didn't even have an answer machine. So you can imagine that lead magnet that he had, those adverts would have just fallen off a cliff. So we need to think about the inquiries, and we need to know, can we actually deliver on when we get them on the other side? Okay, so this is ABC Company. This is based on a client of mine. We worked out who their best customers are and what they wanted to be famous for. And then we came up with their magic formula in terms of their lead generation. And this is them. So remember, I spoke about the first 3 stages of the customer journey: awareness, consideration, and trial. Okay, so in awareness, we first of all made sure that their bios on things like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, whatever platforms they were on, the bios said the right things about them. We made sure that they were on brand. So, you know, everything looked consistent. When we did the adverts, we made sure that the messaging was on point. And then if we were going to do it, and we didn't, but this is just an example, if we were going to do any pay-per-clicks or SEO, make sure that the right words were in there. And we, you know, if you're going to do something like that, use an expert, work with a digital agency to get that expertise at this stage of the customer journey. So the next bit in terms of the lead generation journey is things like your LinkedIn profile. So as well as doing these adverts, they're going to be checking you out. They're going to be checking out your LinkedIn profile. They're going to be checking out your website. Could be a brochure that you give them. It could just be your inquiry process. So if you're bringing in those leads and there are more of the right leads that you want from more of your best customers, think about that process that you're taking them down. Have you got your answer machine on? Have you got someone? Can you deliver when they've actually come through that customer journey with you? And then finally, the stepping stone. So as I mentioned, it could be an audit. That could be your lead magnet. We'll do a free audit. We'll come in, we'll do a free website audit. We'll do a free accountancy review. Remember what I said about the help guides. It could be a downloadable PDF, top 10 tips to have a better running car. Yeah, it could be like 3 ways to keep your garden clean during the winter. Giving that help away, people will see you for being a good company. You'll be top of mind when they need a product or service like yours. Or it could be a taster workshop. So depending on what service you offer, you could do, you know, a one-off workshop. Come along, give us a go. If you like what we do, then we can take it further. And it is very much that conversation. So get the structure in place first of all. Work on those systems. Remember, so for every inquiry we will, for every onboarding we will, get those set up first. Create a communications plan. If you did come on my taster workshop, I can help you formulate that. But it is about getting the structure right before you rush out in terms of the lead generation piece. I will say finally, and then I will open it up to questions depending on if Keith's going to give me any time. Commit to it. It is like joining the gym. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all joined a gym. We're brilliant for 2 weeks and then we just can't be bothered. Give yourself, you know, commit to that lead generation piece. Speak to experts. Get better on LinkedIn. You know, I didn't wake up one morning and suddenly become a pro on LinkedIn. I read books, I went on workshops, because that's where my Sarahs are. That's where my HR companies are and my accountants are. I'll give you a quick example. When I was looking for a new accountant, I found 2 in my local area. One of them, I went on the website was dreadful. But what was surprising with me, at the top, you know, where they have all the icons, these accountants were on LinkedIn, they were on Twitter, they were on Instagram, they were on YouTube, they were on Facebook. When I clicked on each of the icons, there was nothing behind them. There was no content. There was one video on YouTube. They weren't using LinkedIn, but they thought they were doing the marketing. So when I say commit, I mean, what they would have been better off doing is just having a LinkedIn icon at the top, but being proficient in terms of their LinkedIn profiles, their networking on LinkedIn, and the content on LinkedIn. So don't think you have to be everywhere for everyone all the time. It's about finding your magic formula. And then plan. In terms of how we market at the moment, you know, when I first started off in marketing, it was over 12 months. So we used to put our exhibition in, we used to have Christmas brochures going out. Now it's done over 3 months. So if we think we are in February now, get inside your customers' heads. What's the pain points right now? Their pain points are different to what they were at the beginning of January, because we're in a different stage. Their pain points are changing all the time, but just try and work on maybe a 3-month plan. What am I going to do now and in the next 3 months to formulate what that lead generation piece is and the customer journey that I want my customers to take in attracting them and converting and retaining them once I've got them over the line. If you can't do it, delegate someone else to do it. If you want customers at a certain value, it is worth the investment of getting things that you can't do, outsource it to somebody else. Speak to lots of agencies, speak to lots of consultants. Keith and I know we've got a big network. If anybody needs any advice in terms of signposting, speak to one of us in terms of the best people that we know that can help with the leads generation, in terms of if you want them to go to your website or if you need help with social media, and then just crack on. You know, there's that 80-20 rule, isn't there? Just test things, just play with them, see what reaction you get. I'll leave you with the best bit of advice that I can. If you've got some customers now, speak to them. Remember Sarah, who I spoke about at the beginning? The best thing that she did during lockdown in March was to give away, at the end of every email, at the end of every post that she did, she offered a free call to anybody. They didn't have to be a client. She was happy to give that advice away because she wanted to stop them wasting money and go down a legal rabbit hole. Then as we came out of lockdown, I came up with a list of questions, and her team got on the phone and rang her clients, asked them what was the challenges, what were the opportunities, what were the concerns, what was the biggest thing they wanted from 2021. For all the information we got from them, we were then able to work out what they wanted to be famous for in 2021, and then the topics that people were concerned about that we could turn into lead magnets. So we did PDFs, Ask the Experts, help guides, frequently asked questions on restructuring, redundancies, furloughs, performance, because we'd found that from the customers. So don't think you need to go out and just think of something that could be a lead generation magnet. Speak to your customers now, put a list of questions and just ask them simple questions. What's your concerns for the year? What challenges have you got? What are the opportunities? And believe me, you will get bags of information back in terms of creating your own lead generation product. Okay, so that's me. I'm on LinkedIn. If you've got any questions, please do link in with me. Send me a direct message if you've got any questions. I'll open it up now if anybody does have any questions, or you know, take a screen grab or a photograph of my details, and please do keep in touch. And that's me. Should I stop sharing? Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much, Marianne. That was absolutely fantastic. Well, I feel like I've been drinking from the fire hose. As,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, you stick with me. You'll be fine. Wow. So there was lots going on there. I've taken copious notes too. But I would invite, since Marianne's been generous enough to give us some of her time this afternoon, if anyone wants to come off, Dimitri's got his hand up. If anyone wants to come off of mute, please leap straight in and offer up a question.
Hi, Marianne.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. This was just a quick question about the committing to the social media content. The last example, one of the last examples you gave, was that an automatic turn off when you clicked on each one? Was it that
on the accountants?
On the accountants, yeah.
Yeah. So well, the first thing I noticed was all the icons. So I thought, wow, they're on a lot of platforms. So when I clicked into it, it just led me to their Twitter feed first of all, and that was dormant. I hadn't done anything. And then I managed to get into their YouTube channel, and they had maybe a couple of videos on there. So I could see straight away that they'd set them up, but they weren't using them. So they weren't really thinking about the best customers and how they could help the best customers, because there was no content behind it. They were just doing the marketing exercise.
Okay.
I've met a few consultants like that.
Yeah.
So even if you pick only like 2 social media platforms and utilize them really well, that's still a substantial amount, would you say?
Definitely. And even if you just said, I'm going to be brilliant at on LinkedIn, because what you've got to think, Dimitri, you've got to think of, the problem is with marketing, it's huge, okay, and it's overwhelming, and I don't know where to start, and it's expensive. And then the problem is with sales, it's the same thing. It's like, oh my God, where do I start with all this? But if you just think the customer and think, right, I know how many customers I can work with a month. Yeah. So if I turn my marketing tap on, and then I can't deliver. And then people are saying, oh, Marianne's rubbish. Leave me they complain and they leave me a bad Google review, which is unmarketing. There's marketing and there's unmarketing, and that's not what I want. So because I've worked out how many customers I need, then I can turn my tap on and off as much as I want to. So I know I have to be brilliant on LinkedIn. And my magic formula is I link in with, every day I will link in with accountants and HR people. Then I will go back the week after and I will engage with them. I'm not selling, I'm just asking them a question, or I might send them a link to a podcast I've done or a blog that I've written if this will help. And then I take it offline. Do you fancy shall we set up a discovery call? There's a step that I take to earn their trust. So yeah, if people are in creatives, then Instagram works. Be brilliant on Instagram. Yeah.
I think that was going to be my next question, because sorry if I'm hogging just one last, because I work in the cybersecurity industry, so LinkedIn will probably be our best social media platform to utilize, compared to Instagram, which is, I guess, more for creatives or more visual industries. So would you think that it's still worth it to kind of dip your toe into those kind of social media platforms, or it doesn't really matter?
I think the first thing I would do, I would look at your photograph. Is your photograph fit for your best customer? What are they going to be impressed? So when I see photographs and they've got the daughter in their arms, or they're with the wedding, the wife's in a wedding dress or whatever, it's an instant turn off. Make sure you've got a professional photograph on there. Make sure your headline tells people what you do. Your about section, make sure. So I always say about LinkedIn, make sure your profile is your best CV. Make sure it's the best pick. So get that right first. Then start working on your connections. Am I linked into accountants and HR companies and insurance companies, because that's who I want to work with? Then I just start and follow my feed. I just kind of read through, what are they talking about? What's popular? I'm going to like that. I'm going to like that. I'm going to comment on that now. And then it builds up my courage to actually start and post, because I'm understanding what their problems are. Another tip I'll give you, I personally only want to be known for, so when I say what I want to be famous for, I want to be famous for B2B customer journey mapping. I have 4 pillars underneath that. So I will only talk about marketing strategy, marketing planning, customer journey, customer experience. I won't comment on the property award show or anything to do with cash flow or anything to do with trades, unless I can turn it back to what I want to be famous for. Keith and I comment on each other's posts quite a lot, because we're in sales and we're in marketing. So that's a nice fit. So think about the customers you want to get in front of. Think about good referral partners. Start and network, start and link in with those people. Watch, link, like, comment, post in that order.
Thank you.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Just while we're on that, that was fantastic, Marianne. I do a LinkedIn Brilliant Basics session once a month. And great segue. Thank you, Marianne. But
yeah, definitely go on that. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll do that on the about the 15th of each month, but it's generally a Monday night to coincide with Coronation Street.
Question, if that's okay, very quick one.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, hi, Mariam. Thank you so much for very invaluable information, because I've just hired someone to help me with my social media posting and writing blogs and creating content.
Mm-hmm.
So they told me it takes roughly 6 months to see the lead results if we start posting blogs and YouTubes and podcasts. Is that generally the rule?
Oh, I would say that's quite a long time. Would you, Keith? I think if you, it depends what you're posting the podcasts on. It depends what your posts are. If you are writing posts that's fixing your customers' problems. So if I was in need of, if I wasn't very happy with my accountant right now, yeah, and I thought that I was paying far too much tax, and I saw a post on three ways to reduce your corporation tax, I would read that. I'm not an accountant, I'm not into finance, but I would kind of read that because I think I'm paying far too much tax. So I would read that and that would resonate with me. Then if I saw another post, or if they were inviting me to a webinar or something like this on how to reduce my corporation tax, I would go on that, and I would want them to impress me in that hour, in that webinar, for me to go, right, I'm going to pick up the phone. So it isn't just about churning stuff out. If they've said 6 months, I would be quite cautious with that, because 6 months is just churning stuff out and it just becomes blah. Oh God, there we are again. And they've really got to, I would ask that they've really got to understand what your customers' problems are, and that's the content that needs to go out.
Okay.
So, sorry, Sarah, please carry on.
Yeah, he suggests 10 blogs a month.
A month.
Wow, that's a lot of blogs. And I would be that you can overdo it, that people would think, oh, where's Sarah again? Where's Sarah again? Oh my God, Sarah again. It's too much. I would question that. It wouldn't be, I think maybe speak to other social media consultants and see how they do it. I think maybe their remit for you, or their brief, is we're going to raise awareness, we're going to raise awareness, we're going to raise awareness. We have to start to see some results soon from that. And, you know, if you're 3 or 4 months down the line and you have not had an inquiry, then I would definitely question that.
Yeah.
I think, sorry, just on that, I think it's more 6 months than it is 6 days. So I do sometimes think, and Sam, apologies if I'm disrespecting social media people here, because Sam's in social media, but sometimes I think there's and this is what professionals do, is they set expectations around the correct expectations on what you should see and when. Now, we can't always look into a crystal ball and say, yeah, that's when it's going to happen. But what's reasonable expectation? What's an unreasonable expectation? I mean, some people that just aren't experienced buyers of social media services, they might think I'm going to get leads tomorrow, and clearly that's not. It might happen, but it's probably not. But as you say, 6 months, you probably ought to be seeing some sort of return on investment before that. Sarah, I'm happy to check in with you offline about that if you want me to. Excuse me.
Thank you, Keith. Yes, it's so much and so confusing, and you have so many different ideas, and yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Sarah, take your best client and walk in that person's shoes. You know, how did you get that client in the first place? Just map it back. How did they hear about me? Was it in networking? I'm going to get better at networking, or you know, you shouldn't be doing too much because it is overwhelming. And once you find that magic formula, just keep at that magic formula.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Thank
Anyone
you.
else? Anyone?
Could Could I just add one little bit onto Marianne? Thanks ever so much for that. That was really good. And just to sort of put in as well, I come from a marketing background, so it was really interesting hearing more the sort of social media aspect side of things, because that was easily my weakest bit, and I'm not particularly good in that area. So it was really interesting hearing all that, and it was fantastic. And actually, I just wanted to sort of second some of the things you were just saying to Sarah there as well, not just about things sort of being overwhelming, but I think there's having worked in marketing, I've had clients before that have demanded maybe a certain amount of stuff, and I guess there's the sort of long-term element of, are you going to be able to sustain that when you stop working with that person? Because if you're not, everything looks like it just drops off a cliff, and people might think that you're either not interested or you're not even operating anymore. So there's those kind of things to consider as well. But no, I just want to say thank you very much, Marianne.
No,
really
that is brilliant, Joseph. And you know, I have seen that a lot where people have engaged social media people, and it is about sustaining it. And those are the things that you need to think about before you sign up with a social media consultant. You know, like I said in my presentation, seek out the experts. There's some brilliant social media people out there, there really are. But you know, every time I do you know, because I'm in my ex-internal marketing, so I've never been agency side. If I want a new website, I get 3 website quotes, I get 3 copywriter quotes, I get 3 graphic designer quotes. I would always do that, because if you go to a social media person, they will give you social media. Yeah. If you go, so that's what I'm saying. If you just always look for 3 quotes, that's what you would do. If that's what, and Pope Joseph agrees, that's what you would do in a marketing department. You would get different quotes in, take it on board, and go with the right one.
Yeah. Great shout. Anyone else? Marianne, let me just close that off then. And thank you ever so much for giving your time so generously this afternoon. That was absolutely fantastic. And if I may, I really enjoyed Monday morning's session that you did with Nick as well. Loads from that too. So every day's a school day for all of us.
Thank you, and lovely to meet everybody. And like I say, if you've got any questions, thank you, Sarah. Just link in with me, and do keep in touch, and enjoy the rest of your session. I'll let you get on, Keith. Take care, everybody. All the best. Bye bye.
Cheers, Marianne. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. Could I just take 2 minutes just to fill up with a glass of water? Would that be okay? If everyone else wants to do the same, that's absolutely fine. But I'll be literally 2 minutes, if you don't mind.
Keith.
Hello.
Hi. Does Marianne run any workshops?
Yeah.
She's so good, isn't she? She's so good.
She is brilliant. And she I can't remember the details, but if you link in with her, just 1 second, let me get her details and welcome back, Abby. Just 1 second here.
I think I
put them in the chat anyway, because I think everyone else would do well to. There we go. I'll put them in the chat here. How do I get the chat? There. Link. Right, they're in the chat. So you're very welcome to connect in with Marianne. She does run some workshops, and she did mention she's got 3 coming up, and that might be really, really helpful to, again, it's an example of giving some value out to your network, and because it's a good thing to do, and good things will come from it. Right, if that's okay, I'm gonna press on. I do want to respect everyone's time this afternoon. Got a brew. Let's go. Right, so now that's the last slide that was on the screen. Hopefully everyone can kind of see that. Okay, so I just wanted, and this ties in so well, why the right kind of lead generation is so important. So I want to talk to you, and I have asked her permission about this. She's a live client of mine. We've been working together for the last 3 months. Catherine's based in Dublin. And so the story of Catherine, the coach, if you like. She's a business coach, and she's wonderful. Anyway, so she's been the CEO of a recruitment company in the past. Substantial, I think relatively substantial turnover, over $1 million a year, number of staff, all of that, loads and loads of experience in that area. So that's her basic business credentials. The last 5 years of which she's been a business coach. So she sold that to a bigger company, 5 years, successful years as a business coach. And she got involved, like many coaches do, with the Dublin's equivalent of local enterprise partnership, which I think is an LDC, and I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but it'll be local, whatever it is, development company, I think it's called, local development company. And she became famous in the space of sort of prepping people for interviews on career coaching and all of that. She in 5 years, she really developed some great credentials in that space, but she often billed 40 hours. What goes with that particular segment, customer segment, is that it's a higher volume of transactions, shall we say lower average ticket price, if you like. And she often found herself working far in excess of 40 hours, but that's all that segment pays. Okay, she found herself being sort of boxed in, if you like, and became a bit of a, I don't really like the term busy fool, but it is recognizable. So she became so busy doing those 40 hours, she actually didn't have any time to sort of generate what I would call moving to a low volume, higher paying average client, if you like, if that sort of, so it's a bit, the word pivot has been somewhat overused by the last 12 months, but anyway, here we are. So I took her through. She was targeting the wrong kind of leads, and all it was doing was perpetuating her situation. So the cash was coming in. I mean, that was an important box to tick. But she got herself so entrenched in that sector, she was unable to get out of it without a bit of help. So this is not meant to be a case study for Keith. This is a case study or a lesson learned for Catherine, in terms of we had to just think a little bit outside of the box in order to get her out of that box and into the next stage of her career sort of evolution, if you like. So coaching a career coach comes with its own sort of challenges, but I think she's now on that journey and actually doing really well, getting her own referrals in Dublin as well. So that's about thinking about your messaging, the messaging clearly had to change from going from one customer segment to another customer segment and getting the right kind of leads coming in through the door. That was kind of the point. Okay, so some lead generation. There are some cold, hard facts around lead generation. There's two types of lead generation. There's active lead generation, which is you, Dimitri, picking up the phone, cold, hard, raw phone calls, driving, stimulating demand, if you like, if that's the polite expression. But you know, you're going to become what Leonardo or Jordan Belfort would have called the telephone terrorist. Picking up the phone, you know, working a smile when you dial, all of that, and generating demand. That's active lead generation from you or your sales team or whatever it happens to be. And then there's, I call it passive. It is a bit more than passive, but it's not quite as in your face as being on the phone, shall we say, or radio advertising or whatever it happens to be. Social, and that's what I mean by social media. And I include your website in social media. And that's about a softer approach around building brand and awareness. That Marianne has been through much of that, so I don't want to duplicate her effort. But this is very much, it is just, for me, just as important. So the active Facebook ads or telephone sales are the right here, right now, cold, hard leads that are coming into the door that need to be qualified. But in parallel with that, a somewhat longer burn is that you need to be stimulating demand, putting out a blog, putting out a social media post about this is what I stand for, this is the kind of stuff that I do. Again, not desensitizing your audience, but adding value to it, so that after 3-6 months, they're now coming to you. I want to have that call with that accountancy. I'm paying too much tax. I want to develop my school children. I need to be talking to Joseph about that offer. And those are not mutually exclusive. You can do them both in parallel. They will have differing sets of results, and it will ensure that your pipeline of business remains full with the right kind of with the right kind of opportunities. Right. Okay. So this is a little sensitive, but I got remarried in 2012, and I met my wife, as Tracy will tell you. She calls me her current husband, just to keep me on my toes more than anything. But I put on my online profile. We met online. No neurotics. Now, I wasn't. That might have been a little harsh in that space. Well, I'm a relatively relaxed person, and if you're, shall we say, an uptight person or a very focused person, we're just not going to get on. Alpha males, we're just not going to get on. So please don't waste your time contacting me. That was kind of the point. Now, that may be a little visceral or raw, but that was a form of qualification and getting the right kind of leads coming through the door. And I make that point because it's really personal, and therefore maybe just a bit impactful as well. But it was still valid. It's still valid. Okay, so here's another thing. Now, I haven't been through everyone's LinkedIn profiles with a fine tooth comb. One or two of you I have, but I did have someone on a LinkedIn Basics call either last month or the month before. I think it was early December. And the reason I picked her profile out, I asked permission, is her LinkedIn profile was an out of focus shot. I think it was a family shot that she'd cropped, and therefore it was very grainy and not really easy to see. And her headline said manager at self-employed. Well, what is that? What is that? It's not to criticize people overtly, but you've got to tell people, give them a chance. Do you remember what we said last week or the week before? You got about 3 seconds. 3 seconds for someone to take interest in your profile, your LinkedIn profile, or move on, swipe left, or whatever the expression would be. So you got to tell them, give them a fighting chance at what you do, and poke them in the eye with what you do. So if you design exclusive, homes, tell them you design exclusive homes. If you develop primary school aged children using a unique unique formula, tell them that. If you raise money for youth homelessness, tell them that, and just make it easy for people to buy from you or to engage with you, and you'll have the right kind of leads coming in. That's the point. The reason I picked out cold calling is because it's often viewed as, even by seasoned sales professionals, as a sort of dead activity, if you like. It's so old hat. Let's do social media, Facebook ads. The point is, your go-to-market activities are probably not just one thing. They're probably several different things. Your LinkedIn, your Instagram posts, if you have those, your networking events that you'll go to, telephone, being on the telephone, not necessarily cold calling, but someone you haven't spoken to for a long time, so that's a warmer call, perhaps a previous client, just keeping in touch. And it's exactly, I think, what you are doing, Dmiji, there. It's not necessarily cold calling in the raw sense of you're churning that customer database, trying to identify demand opportunities. And so if there's previous clients, even corporate clients that you just haven't spoken to for a while, then maybe picking up the phone, particularly right now where there's a heightened state of anxiety. I think people appreciate a phone call. And I mean a phone call as distinct from looking at a screen all day. Sometimes it's a nice break to have a phone call, just not have to look into a torch. Then the phone still has its place. That's my point. Okay, here's some nice, perhaps softer, warmer facts. Is first of all, it's not what you know, it's someone come off and mute and finish that phrase.
Who you know?
Who know you?
Absolutely. So that is and that's been true for a long time. Sometimes it's the old boys club, or should we say the old person's club these days, but it has been unashamedly with a male standpoint. The world has changed, the world has modernized. We've got to get with that program. So and that will never completely go away. That's why LinkedIn is so successful, because if you want to get to the CEO of Unilever because you want to sell them something, it is possible to do that, because you can go on, you can find Alan Jope's profile, and you can find out if someone you know on LinkedIn is already connected with Alan Jope, and you could say, okay, would you mind introducing me? And that, so in that respect, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That will never completely disappear. But I think you might have shouted this out, Sarah, with the online world, it's actually who knows you. You can reach 30,000 people quite easily on LinkedIn if you curate your posts, if you post in the right way. And I could point you to a few profiles who just absolutely knock it out the park every time they post. It's not even that insightful, so maybe I won't point you in that direction, but LinkedIn has changed. LinkedIn has changed. For the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of people have been saying, LinkedIn is becoming too much like Facebook. So it's kind of trending that way anyway. And I think the pandemic and this lack of human contact that we've all had makes us crave even more human contact. And so if you can put out a post, not about your product, but if you can put out something which is a good news story, something that gives humanity hope and positivity. And some of you work for charities, you are a great place to do both that and its precise opposite on some of the difficulties that we're still facing in society. But if you can point to a post where you've helped someone turn their life around in the last, pick a number, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it happens to be, I'll tell you, the LinkedIn community, and there's 600 million of them, they really they crave those kind of stories. I've recently, I want to talk about a story with me. Anyway, there's an HR director called Lisa Haggar, Haggar. She talks about some relatively straightforward stuff, but gets a tremendous amount of coverage and engagement in what she writes really well, I have to say. So she might be worth looking at her LinkedIn profile. In fact, I might ask her permission to feature it on my next thing, just as a way of, you know, not sell, but create awareness. And so sooner or later, when you've got a need for HR consulting or whatever it is, you'll go to her. Accountants and lawyers haven't necessarily mastered this because they're, accountancy and the law can be quite dry subjects until you really need them, until you've got a tax audit from HMRC and they're going to come on site. And tax can be incredibly interesting all of a sudden, or you find yourself on the B end of a litigation suit. Then the law can be really interesting and not in a very positive way. But so anyway, it's about who knows you. So mastery, and maybe if it takes what's called web copy, if it takes someone who's really good at writing to write your stuff in a particular way, then it's worth considering. So it's about who knows you then. So here's, and I think Marianne alluded to this when she said that something like 70% of buyers have already done their research before you even get to talk to them anyway. They'll have researched Fortress AS already to look at the kind of services. I mean, that's kind of what your website's for. You want people going to your website to find out more about you so that when they do come to you, it's a qualified conversation. So that's a buying signal anyway, the fact that they're coming to you for a chat, for a conversation anyway. So it should be a relatively warm inquiry. Excuse me. Oh yeah, so stop selling. I've already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. LinkedIn, whatever other social media you choose as the right platform for you, don't be always in sales mode. It's really tiresome. People will become desensitized to you. And you know, if I'm always in sales mode, someone will go, Keith, oh, forget that, you know. So when I try writing a post, and I'm certainly not the best at this, I try writing something about some sort of hope, humanity, positive news, maybe a case study, someone that you've helped, bring it to life somehow, an engaging image, all of that. But it's about building awareness and critically trust. Trust is at the heart of all of that. And discover, it's not about you, it's about your prospect, your potential client. What is it they need? Especially when it comes to for charitable, you know, when you're trying to persuade people to part with their money to invest in your organization, what is it they need to feel good at late at night? What's bothering them? What is it they care about? Now, often it will come down to the managing partner of that law firm who was maybe brought up in care and cares really greatly about, therefore, what you do for a living. How can you kind of plug into that need and convert it? Marianne mentioned that word conversion. How convert them into a client, because you've listened to what it is their needs, and if you ask the right questions, you will discover you won't need to interrogate them. Just get them to keep on talking, and you'll get to the right answer. Joseph, you look like you wanted to ask a question just then.
Sorry, no, I was just stretching. My apologies. I was just stretching.
Okay, all right, there you go. All right, good. So discover what your customer needs and get into their consciousness. And the point POV, sorry, I put this up a week or so ago and I didn't explain. It's a point of view. You will have a point of view on the world, on development, on creative design, on youth homelessness, you're going to have a point of view. People want to know what that is, and in fact you have a responsibility to tell people what they don't already know, and from your point of view on what's going on in society, what your point of view, what's going on in child development, in in the world of cyber, whatever. You have a responsibility, because if you don't, your competitors will, and they'll take Pinsent Masons' budget. Okay, something else to put in the mix, and I'm not saying you should behave in this way, but I had an interview with this guy, I'm going back quite a few years, but a guy called Scott McNeely, and he started a technology firm 25 years or so years ago. It's called Sun Microsystems, and he had he ended up building his own niche quite by accident, and so almost all of the banks, the investment banks in the city of London, bought his hardware because it was faster. They could get into the market fast, buy or sell whatever they need to do, and get out really fast as well. All the things that I teach people not to do. But in the market in that time, it was relevant and it was desired. That's what his customers wanted. And when I said to him, Scott, before the prevalence of social media and all the rest of it, what's your strategy here for Sun Microsystems? He said, our strategy is to be tactical. And this goes against the grain of almost every business school out there. But I think these days, because they'll tell you, you've got to have the right strategy, you've got to have the right this, you've got to have the right that. But Scott, I think, mastered the art of what his customers wanted, and they worked in a very fast-moving market. So his strategy was to be tactical, was to really listen to what his customers wanted. We need it to do this, we need it to be this much faster. And that actually became his strategy, is to really listen to his. So I put that in there, that actually you can be really long term, you can be really strategic in your thinking, but if there's no short term getting the cash coming in through the door, then you won't have to worry too much about strategy, because the game will be over. So a series of initiatives, if you like, that talk to some sort of tactics underpinning the strategy is the right way to go. That was a little bit abstract, a little bit esoteric, but he sold his company a few years later to Oracle for about $7.5 billion, and which is small change when you consider Amazon's owner Bezos's $200 billion. But the point is, he made a success out of being a tactician. That's the point. Okay, I do want to play this, because it's about 56 seconds long, and I can't remember what program it's from. But have a listen to this, how it starts out, where they think I'm going to call it a customer request. They think it's going, and have a listen to how it ends up. So hopefully, I'm going to press play now. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear it okay, all right?
Lemonade wasn't so bloody delicious. We're gonna be late. Just hold it in. Okay? I can't hold. I really need to go. I'm not joking. Come on, we need to pull over.
Shay, just go in a bottle. Just go in a bottle, Sissy. Come on, it would actually be hilarious. Go in a
You're
bottle.
not serious. Where's that come from? No way! Go! Oh my God! Go! Oh, I can't believe I'm gonna do this. All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Fine. Look away. You're mental. You are mental. I can't believe you guys made me do this. You bloody reprobate. Bloody lemonade. Running straight through me.
Okay, right. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to have a customer who's going to do something on the carpet, but the point is, and I hope I see some smiling faces, thank God, because that can often go the wrong way. But the point is that you've got to qualify what's going to happen as a result of the customer engagement taking place. Right. Okay. Right. Moving on. So, right. So we talked about active. We talked about passive. Some examples of passive lead generation are going to be your website. They're going to be your LinkedIn. We've kind of covered lots of these subjects already, and social media. The website, and Marianne didn't use the word, but what she was actually referring to earlier on was alignment and consistency. She certainly used that. Is your website saying what your social media is saying, the messages that you're giving your customer when you're phoning them up, when you're networking, when you're doing your pitch? Is it all consistent? And it either is or it isn't. It's a pretty easy thing to kind of measure. Does it have that alignment? And also, excuse me, an SEO is search engine optimization. Again, I don't claim to be knowledgeable in that subject area, but I know enough to know it's pretty important. And it's a longer burn than paid for ads. But who would you rather enrich? I'd rather enrich my website than Facebook. That's the general approach that I take. Sam may tell us something else later on. They all have their purpose, but it's a great example of passive lead generation. So if you want to be known for youth homelessness, you do special work in that area in the West Midlands, then you better make sure that your website is fully SEO'd, and Barry, I'm sure you do, but that was just a sort of case in point. And the one on the right hand side is frictionless. You've got to make it easy for people to donate, to contribute, to buy from you. And so I don't know if you've got on your website, it's pretty easy. If you've got a Wix website, it's pretty simple to do, which is the option called live chat. The reason I know about this is because I did a sales turnaround project at a university, at Lancaster University Management School, which was probably about 4 years ago, and I got the website people, the digital officer or whatever they're called, to put on a tool because I wanted live chat. I wanted to engage directly with clients, and I thought, what we're going to do is I'm going to man it between 8 and 5, 8 a.m., 5 p.m. And I'm going to have someone else man it at lunchtime. Perhaps there'll be an assistant who can do that. So that when people log on searching for master's courses, there'll be someone there that can help them straight away. Anyway, that's how much I knew about that particular sector. Because it's a global organization, and maybe you are, maybe you're not, people don't search for master's programs between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. They search for master's programs, as I found out, about, depending on where they are in the world, or depending on if they've got young children at home, 10 p.m., 2 a.m. if they're in different parts of the world, pretty much any other time other than between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And that was a real window on that world. So I had to rethink about how flexible I was going to be working, which I didn't mind doing, because when you're a consultant as such, you kind of have to be flexible, but also gave me a window in the world in terms of what people were asking. I had that, all of a sudden I had a direct relationship with people, and I encourage you that if you feel that that would add value to your business, then to consider live chat. And I mean proper live chat. You can get various AI software, robotic software that can, if someone's an existing customer maybe that's looking for your latest blog on whatever happens to be, you can do that via AI. But if it's a new customer, I do believe, and you have high value customers, then I do believe the personal touch is required. But I would recommend you at least consider it for your business. If you consider it and you can't do it justice, then that's fine, but at least you've considered it. Okay, and then number 2. Oh yeah, okay, so has everyone got their phones with them right now? Now, if you may or you may not already know about this, but I would like you to go to your browser on your phone and put in LinkedIn social selling index. Okay, then come up and click on that. Excuse me. And it will come up with a particular screen on that if everyone's come up. And you should, no, I can't do a share screen, but if everyone's has come up, there'll be a bright white box saying learn more, and to the right of that, there will be get your score. And if you click on get your score, if your phone's doing its thing and you're on LinkedIn and it's mapping your LinkedIn profile with this process, it should come up with a score. And it doesn't matter what it is at the moment, but what, okay, this probably isn't going to show up on your screen, but I should, but you'll get a screen that sort of looks like that. It doesn't matter what it is today. What matters is that you record what it is today, and then perhaps every month or every 3 months, you will monitor it. And am I making improvements? In LinkedIn's view, am I, what I might do afterwards is record a video sequence with doing, but I'm guessing most people will be able to figure this out. But it's a really interesting tool that not everyone knows about, that LinkedIn can tell you how you're performing in your industry, be it the charity, not-for-profit sector, be it, you know, banking sector, whatever it is, and then within your network. Now, unfortunately, I'm not in the top 1% of my network, which means, which I need to be in order to generate leads from LinkedIn. So I need to be working harder. So that's a job for me to be thinking about offline. And it's enlightening what that will tell you. So I encourage you to have a look at that. Okay.
Sorry, Keith. Touch on that. And there are videos to teach us how to improve the SSI ranks and network ranks.
Okay. Yes, there'll be any amount of stuff, and I would again, if LinkedIn is going to be important to the profile of your business, and I would suggest, or your organization, and I would suggest it is, then a bit of focus on this area, but it's about you, the individual, rather than your organization. So it'll be about your personal LinkedIn profile and how that's performing relative to your industry and relative to your own network. But that's really important, because go back a couple of slides, it's about who knows you, and that's where it makes me giggle sometimes. Now you'll know when you go. I don't want to spend the rest of the session on LinkedIn, but you can go on someone's. I could go onto Barry's profile. If I'm honest, Barry, I wouldn't learn an awful lot about your LinkedIn profile from. We've already talked about that, but anyway, I could go onto Barry's profile and I could find out who Barry knows. But that is not, and I could potentially phone them up or contact them somehow. LinkedIn does have that. You can block that facility, by the way. You can protect against that. But anyway, my point is that just knowing who Barry knows or knowing who Jane knows is no substitute for an actual relationship with that contact. You can't outsource relationships. They're just, relationships of people to people. They're much stronger than just knowing a phone number or an email address. They just are. I hope that's obvious. Okay, so we talked about the manager at self-employed, but the principle is still the same. What does yours say? I haven't been through everyone's. And then proactively connecting, as Marianne said, with relevant others. Especially if you're just starting out on your LinkedIn journey, I wouldn't be too choosy, frankly. If you know someone, connect with them. Maybe send them a message, maybe not. Doesn't really matter. But connect with them. They will have to press a button to connect with you. Build your network. Now, the reason some of these people have, I don't know, 1,000 likes on one of their posts is not necessarily that they write brilliantly. It's that they've got a big network, and so the real and likes aren't really, that's a vanity metric. What really matters is what happens as a result of your doing a post or a series of posts? Have you got inquiries coming in through the door? That's the real measure, not necessarily likes. I would argue views is much more relevant to what you're doing. And then SEO, I've covered SEO quite. So we talked about customer journey, and Marianne's done all that and did a fantastic job in my estimation. But the other, she wandered onto blogs and podcasts and vlogcasts, and I wonder if anyone has thought between last week and this week, have they thought about a blog? If you want to come off and on that, tell me a bit about that. Yeah, okay, Sarah, hi.
Yeah, hi. Yes, since last week, I have, thoughts of blog ideas and podcasts, and also about YouTube videos I'm going to do.
Well, there's a lot of work in that, as I'm sure you're aware. So I think blogs are a fantastic way of connecting with people's emotions. If you ever, most selling is done at the emotional sort of level rather than facts and figures, which can be quite dry. If you can connect with a story, with a person, with a case study, which you can often do with a podcast and some images too, with a blog and with some images too, then that can be really, really lucrative in the medium term. These are not overnight.
Yeah, because I thought if I start blogs, anyway, I can pull things off the blogs to my podcasts and also feeding into the YouTube videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you've created a bit of content, that can be reused across multiple different streams. So also when I record this, which I'm doing at the moment, excuse me, at the moment, I can upload the audio file to a bit of software called Otter, and it can give me a transcript, which is probably 90% accurate. And I can cut and paste that, bit of editing to tidy it up, and I choose not to at the moment, but I could put it out as a podcast. I've got to get to the point whereby and note to self that I'm a bit more organized in this, but the point is I'm actually capturing all that content. So I've got it, and when I get a chance, or I pay someone else to do the rest of the work, then I can put it out as perhaps an ebook or something else, because people want to receive information in different ways. Some people, I'm quite a visual person, so I love watching movies, which is how I came across that clip earlier on. But some people just prefer reading late at night. They're like a physical piece of paper in their hand. So perhaps a printed ebook is relevant, but the important thing is what's relevant to them. Okay, so actively generating, conscious of time as well. Paid ads. Again, please don't do this yourself. I'm not in the paid ads business, but can put you. The reason I know this is because I've got an Airbnb in York, and I spent 1,500 quid, about 18 months ago, pre-pandemic anyway. 1,500 quid on Facebook ads, didn't get one single response, because I don't know what I'm doing. Many people would argue that anyway, but this was pursuant to Facebook ads. So you can really spend a lot of money, but if you hire an expert, they can just get you buzzing straight away. That's the point. Telephone, we've already been that with Demiji. Active, you know what you're doing and you've got some structure. Demiji, can I just ask you, have you had any training on telephone cold calling?
No, I haven't actually. No.
Okay, right. So that could be a little bit dangerous, letting someone loose on the phone without any. We all know how to have a conversation. I kind of get that, but there's a way to do stuff. There is a way to do stuff. If anyone's interested, I might. I've got some content which I've never actually used in anger, but I could probably put together a cold calling, if that would be useful for anyone. I could probably put together a bit of a masterclass on that. Trade shows and exhibitions, they're out for the time being, so let's not even think about that. It will be at least a year, I believe, until we're able to meet safely and comfortably. You can argue there's 400 people that met at a wedding a few weeks ago. That's totally out of order. But it's going to be a year before we can responsibly meet. Perhaps that's the right word. And networking, again, is going to be some time away. Virtual networking, however, is right here, right now, and you can still do that. And I would argue that it can still be a lucrative source of lead generation if you know how to do it and do it right. And that's why the value proposition, when we went through the 60-second pitch, and even when I do it, I've still got my pitch probably printed out next to me, because not word for word, but the salient points, because otherwise I'll go off on a tangent. I know, and I'll run out of time, and they haven't got a clue what I do. So even for me, and I think I'm quite experienced in this, I still have the salient points printed out that I want to make. And by the way, those salient points change from time to time as well, because I might be wanting to get people in my latest masterclass. It might be my latest ebook, whatever it happens to be. There will be a call to action which is different at each one. Lead gen, paid ads, I've already been through that. Google, if it's general. Facebook can be more deterministic, focused on particular outcomes. But always, and even when I was at NPower, we spent something like 6,000 a day on paid ads. We always ran a cost to acquire. So at the end of the month, how many did we close? What was the total budget? How much did it cost? And it was about 100 quid, £102 per lead. So for a 12-month contract, you would about £2,000. So again, you've got to map it back to your return on investment. I've already talked about the phone. Okay, right. Trade shows, they're out for a year. Networking, I've already talked about. Highly recommend. Some of you are in the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce. They're one of the best run chambers of commerce I've come across. Loads of great events, and actually everyone wants to help as well, so they'll signpost you somewhere. They're really good net community. I'm not familiar with London Chambers of Commerce either. To me, you don't know about them, but I would strongly encourage you, if there are virtual networking opportunities, get them and practice them. Excuse me. Yeah, done that. Okay, best practice. I'm going to run this because we talked about, Marianne talked about trial earlier on, and I hadn't included this, and some people will know this script because you might have come on, but this is from Peaky Blinders. It's 1 minute long, but I want you to listen to it again because I want to unpack it at the end. You should be able to hear it. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear it. Okay.
Your money, Mr. Kimber. Rescued from the Lay brothers and returned to you with a request for a fair hearing. Your own protection is failing, Mr. Kimber. Your boys are taking cuts. I want to suggest that from now on, you contract out your racetrack security to the Peaky Blinders. We'd be saving you a lot of money, Mr. Kimber. A lot of money. In return, you give us 5% of the take and 3 legal betting pitches at every race meeting north of the River Severn, rising to 6 after 1 year if we are all satisfied with the service. What do you say, Mr. Kimber?
I say you talk business to my accountant. I want to dance.
Okay, right. West Midlands finest there with Tommy Shelby. Great example of a trial. Marianne, I hadn't included that, but I quickly found it just now. The trial, I'm not going to go back and replay that, but he talked about racetrack security, and he said, give us a racetrack security for 3 of your race courses, we'll run it for a year. If we're all happy, so there's some sales terminology there. If conditionality, so it's a conditional close. If we're all happy after a year, we'll increase it to 6. In other words, the contract's going to be worth double in 12 months' time if everyone's happy. So they've got to perform. It's a great, bless you. There's a great example of a trial, even though that was the 1920s, we're now in the 2020s. But the principles are still the same nonetheless, you may have seen that before. I know I've highlighted that sketch. There's loads of learning opportunities that comes out of that sketch, and I know it's a sketch, and there's 100 sketch writers that get on there and they do the text properly, but actually it still works in what I would call real life anyway, around the closing technique, the soft close. What do you think, Mr. Kimber? You're not asking for the business, you're asking them what they think about what they've just said. That's what's called a trial close. We'll talk about that in more detail a little bit later on, but it's highly relevant. So summing up, active lead generation is getting the right elevator pitch, the right sales messages for your company's offer. It takes time, it needs some practice, and hence, really strongly urging you to just get out and get your feet wet, so to speak, with virtual networking, and practice your pitch, because when you've got it perfect with a small p, and it's just drilled into you and it comes out, you will get huge benefits from that. The concept of upfront contracts, an example of that would be Tommy Shelby. If conditionality, if it's okay after 12 months, we'll move on. That's your upfront contract created just then. If you're telephone cold calling, hey Joseph, pick up your phone a second. I'm not going to phone you, but just let's just kind of act this out. So pick up your phone. Ring, 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 ring. Joseph answers. Hello, it's Joseph. I'll say thank you. I'm going to say, Joseph, this is Keith Roselle, Sales Marvel. Listen, I've got to be honest, it's a bit of a cold call. Don't suppose you've got 30 seconds, have you? And then
I've got about 3 minutes.
There you go. Right. So there you go. So that's a buy. He's just given his approval. I've asked for 30 seconds. I can tell you now, even if they're in the middle of a meeting, they shouldn't do, but 99% of people would say, all right, 30 seconds, go. And that's when you got your pitch. So Demiji, I've done myself out of a cold calling workshop there, but that's your pitch. It's called a pattern interrupt, because they're almost certainly in the middle of something. You've interrupted their pattern of work, their behavior. You've got their attention. Now you need to deliver a perfect pitch in that 30 seconds. And they will either say, I'm interested in that. I haven't got time to talk about it now, but let's get 15 minutes on the Zoom call, or absolutely, Demiji, we're just never going to be in the market for that, in which case you can move on. But that's the concept of forming an upfront contract. Don't suppose you've got 30 seconds. Okay, so
Keith, sorry, can I just say something? Because that technique actually can work with emails as well. I was just quickly trying to look. I got an email today from a virtual conference that I was at last week, and I can't find it now. I don't know whether I've deleted it. But the lead-in sentence that you get to see when you see the summary of the email was essentially that this won't take more than 10 seconds of your time, and I automatically read it. And I actually automatically did what they were wanting me to do. And I was really surprised that I responded in that way, because I'm quite cynical in general.
Yeah.
But it does seem to work, or it worked on me.
Can you send it to me?
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'm trying to find it. It will either be in my deleted, or it'll be somewhere. But
Thank you.
I did today or yesterday.
Because we all receive email every day, and we're almost all desensitized to it. It's got to be a really good email to take attention. And if you grab someone's attention in the first 3 seconds, just like your LinkedIn profile, that's fantastic. Hang on. That's fantastic to hear. There we go. Right. So upfront. Yeah. Okay. Right. Paid ads, live chat, respond. So paid ads, if you are going to embark on them, you've got to be on the ball. So I worked with a client who paid ads, quite a big, a small business on his own, 600 a month spending with Google, Facebook, I beg your pardon. and he would not answer them until he came back from his day's work at the end of the day, and they'd already gone to someone else, and that was the pattern of behavior that we're seeing. So these things have a bit of a half-life. So if you are paying for that kind of service, you've got to be on the money. Even if Joseph was to message me, I would say, Joseph, I've got your message. Would you mind if I speak to you later on this afternoon when I get home? I've ticked that box. We've now got a connection, and we formed an upfront contract that I'm going to phone back at the end of the day. So just make sure you do. That's the point. Summing up, don't take channels for granted. Attract, convert, retain. Exactly what Marianne just said. Don't take channels for granted. Test for what works best. LinkedIn, you've got to be on there anyway. That's the expectation. Anything else is by trial and error. So if Instagram's working for you, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's working for you, fantastic. If it's not, be honest with yourself. Don't waste your time.
I was just gonna, oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, please.
No, I was just going to say quickly with the live chat, I was going to agree because we currently have a live chat system on our website, and I'm the only one, or myself and Andrew, but basically we have to be on our phones 24/7 and within maybe like 15 seconds, if we don't reply within 15-20 seconds, the person has abandoned the chat. And so I was just in Aldi the other day, and I had to drop my loaf of bread just to reply them. But yeah,
that's right. And but that's what you're signing up for, whether you realize or not. That's what you're signing up for. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it well. So well done, Dmitry, for that one. KPIs and print. I'll talk about that offline. I might record something on that. Analytics. Now, Rebecca Stringer is going to join us next week because she really knows about this stuff. Even if you're just a one-person business, as I am for the moment, you are still producing data. Your website is still producing data. And if you've got a bigger business than that, then you've just got more to work with. There's some fascinating stuff that if anyone's heard that subject of that line of data is the fourth industrial revolution, I genuinely believe that's the case. So mastery of the data will help you improve your sales. No doubt in my mind about that. Call to action, which is, if you want to learn more, click here, get a quote, go to our website, whatever it happens to be. And your social selling index, which we talked about, and I'd be really interested to where you stand and to hear about your progress as we go through this. And make a goal. Maybe if you're in the top 10%, let's get to the top 5% by 3 months' time, whatever it is. Okay, so here's a quick exercise in the last 30 seconds. What do you think will be your main sales channel, your active channel? I think that's what I meant. Just don't need to respond to this, but just reflect on it. And what will be your main social media channel? I would say over and above LinkedIn. So what else? Now, I know several of you, your organizations are really hot on Twitter, so it would be hard to justify making any, switching that off. But is there something else that you could do that could maybe generate a new audience or curate a new audience? I will tell you, and I'm almost. I did laugh when I was told this, but the person that's advising me on my social media at the moment talked about TikTok, and I almost laughed at that's something I never envisaged being on, and judging by the look on your faces, you didn't either. So, but I'm going to be learning more about that as a way to attract audience to my website. So I'm still learning loads about this too.
It's funny you said that, Keith. I employed a student as my help for the social media platform, and she suggested TikTok today to me.
Yeah, because I don't know what about you guys, but when I first started reading books, well, I'm talking about when I was two and a half years old, the first words I learned to read would be cat, sat, mat, hat, whatever it happens to be. My son, we had an old PlayStation 1. I am going back in time. The first word he learned how to read was loading, because he knew when that word stopped flashing on the screen, he could start playing the game. So that's how the time has, the generations have changed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm doing this on Monday night. It's free. You're very welcome to sign up. I think I put the link in the chat. So it's Monday night, 7:30 p.m., which is how to sell and present over Zoom. It's a wider audience, so it's not just going to be us. There'll be other people coming to that, and maybe a networking opportunity as well. But how to sell and present over Zoom, I'm going to be doing something specifically on that. You're very welcome to attend or not attend. As you, there you go. There's the link. There's the link now. I can send that out separately afterwards if you like. We've had loads of questions. This has been really interactive, really good. Unless there's any lasting questions, if I'm honest, you can email them to me, as one or two of you done recently anyway, and I'm happy to do a follow-up quick video and answer those. But otherwise, next week we're going to talk about client needs and how to qualify them. It's there's loads of good stuff in there. It's and it's not simple. There's a lot. You can destroy your own credibility by asking the wrong questions. You can massively improve your credibility and insight in the eyes of the potential customer by asking the right questions at the right time and in the right way. So there's much more to it than meets the eye. If you follow me on Eventbrite, you'll get to know about all these different events that are coming up. You know my details anyway. So listen, I am just going to say it's been a real pleasure. A bit of a whirlwind tour. But I hope you've got loads of it. It looks like you've been taking lots of notes anyway. Thank you again. I'll send out the recording afterwards, just in case you want to replay or whatever. I really look forward to seeing you next week. If you've got any other questions, fire them in and I'll follow up with a follow-up email. But until then, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.